Coming up on tonight's show, we'll be discussing the Green Party for Gorton and Denton. Hannah Spencer, Konstantin Kizin was called out on Question Time. We have an exclusive interview with the Greens for Palestine and their anti-Zionist motion, and the links between the UAE and Nigel Farage. On to our first story. The Green Party announced their candidate for the Gorton and Denton by-election, local plumber and councillor Hannah Spencer, who lives in Greater Manchester, was revealed to be the candidate earlier today. This is Spencer back in September of last year with a really good message on patriotism.
So these flags, I'll say this, that took effort. Those flags go for miles. They're all evenly spaced. They're all the same height. And I know from working up a ladder, like fitting gutters and boiler flues and whatnot, like that is not easy. And so if you're using your time and your tools and your practical skills because you want your country back, please come and join the rest of us who are actually trying to get our country back. Come and volunteer at our monthly clean-ups. Come and join the gardening group. Come and fix the broken fencing that needs repairing. Come to the community arts centre that helps so many people but that always needs volunteers. Like, come and do all of those things that will actually get our country back. Because if you've got the time, the tools and the skills, and at the moment you're just putting flags up, please give your head a little wobble and then come and join the rest of us who are actually trying to get our country back.
I love that video. I mean, it speaks to the patriotism, but also it's just down to earth. She seems like a very normal person. That is what a normal person would do. So I love that. And now the breakdown of the results show a clear win for Spencer. So as you can see, Spencer won with 457 votes, which is 78.1% to Faisal Raza Khan, who won 65 votes, and Sarah Wakefield with 63 votes. Now, despite the unveiling of the candidate that was supposed to be this morning, it seems Hannah Spencer winning the vote was leaked last night. Gorton and Denton, Hannah Spencer picked as Green candidate. That's by Tomorrow's MPs, and the account is run by Michael Crick. And I think it was him who leaked the information because all those who reported on it cited Crick as the source. I guess he didn't really leak it. He's the journalist, but he didn't wait for an embargo. Now, we at Turn Left knew about the results last night, but we respected the embargo and opted to not reveal the candidate despite it being leaked. Now, our very own Callum Taylor was there at the event and asked both Hannah and Zach a question at the Q&A panel.
In an unusual move, before I take a question, it's not me buttering you up, please give love to independent media. This is Turn Left, who run a brilliant YouTube channel every single night doing live news broadcasts. Callum, be nice now. So,
thank you very much.
Joking, ask what you want.
Callum Taylor, Turn Left Media. I have two questions, if I may, one for Zach and one for Hannah. For Zach, the Green Party came third here in 2024 with 13.2% of the vote. Since your leadership of the party, obviously popularity for Greens has grown exponentially. How do you plan to reach out to the diverse communities within Gorton and Denton and encourage more people to vote Green? And for Hannah, a report last year found that Gorton was one of the areas, well, actually the area with the highest levels of fuel poverty in the northwest, with local rates in the area at 23.7%. If elected, what would you do to help locals get out of fuel poverty across the constituency?
Thank you. So there's a couple of things I'd answer first of all. So where we won MPs at the last general election, some of those came from third and indeed fourth place. So we know exactly how to get that kind of level of success. Having said that, for all my fighting talk today, there's not a shred of complacency. I know Hannah and in fact the entire team, in fact the whole Green Party, are going to be working incredibly hard to not take one vote for granted. We're going to be having conversations. Now, whether that's with diverse communities or whatever the community might be, we know inequality hits you wherever you are. So many people right now feel like they're running just to keep up. They know that their rent bills are going up, water bills are going up, energy bills are going up. These issues affect every single community. So we're going to have a relentless focus on inequality, the cost of living, and everything that Hannah just spoke about. It's also true there are issues around the world that we care about as well, and we're not going to be shy to talk about justice. We can do more than one thing at once. In fact, we must do more than one thing at once. And we'll absolutely have a campaign that, yes, focuses on international justice, but puts inequality, particularly for the people of Gorton and Denton, at the heart of it.
Thank you for the question. So I think fuel poverty is what comes from not having people from different trades and occupations in the rooms where decisions are being made, because plumbers like me will have been saying for decades that we have the leakiest homes in Europe. When you're fitting a central heating system, whatever the heating source, and you know that half of that is going out of the house, those skilled and experienced people will have been able to advise for years about what measures need to be taken. But the problem is, politics has not been accessible to people, and this is what we're going to change, and that is how we're going to change it, so that fuel poverty no longer becomes something that we talk about.
Just brilliant stuff. And I just want to say, we need to give a hand to Callum Taylor, our reporter, going to the event, documenting the event, getting, well, 2 questions in. And I have to say, we are a voluntary organisation, right? We didn't get funding, and yet that was our first ever like press Q&A. So that's a win cow, as one of our chats says. Now, this is Hannah Spencer giving us an exclusive interview.
How does it feel being the candidate that's been selected to represent the Green Party in this by-election?
It feels incredible. We have a system where local members decide who our candidate is, and to get the backing of so many people here, I'm so honoured and I'm so proud.
And you were asked earlier about how you're going to represent white working class people in the constituency. Just tell us briefly a little bit about how you plan to do that.
I plan to speak up for the people that I live alongside, the people that I work with, my colleagues, my friends, who I have conversations with about all sorts of different things. And I think I'm going to push back on this idea that we're easy pickings, that we're ripe for reform, that we're just going to act and think a certain way just because they've decided that that's what they want. We can challenge that, and we will absolutely show that the white working class communities in this city region are caring, are kind, and we look out for our neighbours from whichever background they're from.
Perfect. And obviously you know this area quite well. What are you most looking forward to about potentially representing this area in Parliament?
I think one of the biggest things is because of how diverse this community is. I know when I lived certainly in Levenshulme, like that is somewhere that over many decades has had immigration that has changed over the years, and you still see it in the roots of those places where you go. And I think I would feel such pride knowing that I'm able to represent that kind of community across the whole constituency at Parliament.
And finally, to people that are worried about splitting the vote between the Greens and Labour, what would you say to encourage them that that's rubbish?
I think we've just been told, and I did this for so many years, tactical vote this way to keep them out, now it's vote that way to keep them out, and it's just absolute nonsense. We need to vote with our guts, and that is the only way that we'll get Greens into Parliament.
Wonderful. Hannah, congratulations and thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I like her line there where she says, vote with your guts, because you often hear vote with your hearts, but vote with your guts is, it feels a bit more of an emergency, or more of an action phrase. So I really, really enjoyed that. Now, this is also Caroline's... start that again. Callum Taylor also spoke to Caroline Lucas on Hannah winning the selection.
I'm here in Denton, which is part of the Gorton and Denton constituency, to show my support for our amazing candidate just announced this morning, Hannah Spencer, and really just to get out on the doorsteps and bring that message of hope, which is at the heart of what the Green Party is bringing here today. We've been speaking to some people outside Morrison's, and actually there's real interest in the Green Party and a real sense that people want to vote for something different. And I think that we can persuade people that the Green Party is the party that really understands their concerns, for example, about the cost of living, their concerns about the need for rent controls, their concerns about a Labour government that seems to be cozying up to an Israeli government that is absolutely, pursuing a policy of genocide in Gaza. So there are a lot of issues that people have a lot of sympathy with our policies for, and the feeling on the ground is very, very positive.
How important do you think it is that we have a candidate in Hannah who is local, she's from the area, she grew up around here, she regularly walks the greyhounds in this constituency, she's a plumber, she's a working class lass. How important do you think that is both for the Green Party but also for this constituency?
I think it is hugely important that we have the wonderful Hannah as our candidate. As you say, she is someone who is very down to earth. She is understanding real people's concerns. She's absolutely alongside them, working alongside them and living alongside them and loving this, which has been her home all her life. And I think if you compare that to the kind of Renton extremist who's coming in from Reform UK, not local to the constituency, probably frankly rather more interested in his own career than he is about the people of Gorton and Denton. So people have a real choice here, and we're framing that choice very starkly. It is between the politics of hope or the politics of hate, and we're very clear that the people of Gorton and Denton deserve the very best, the politics of hope, and that is embodied by Hannah.
Well, Caroline Lucas, thank you very much for your
so much.
time.
Thank you.
We also caught up with Green Party leader Zach Polanski.
I'm absolutely delighted to have Hannah as a candidate, particularly because she's just walked in through the door, just over your shoulder. Hannah is someone who I've known for a long time, who is dedicated, caring. She's also bloody funny, and I think that really matters, actually, that she can take an attack, and I think we will see this over and over again, and just turn it on itself. And I think if Reform try and come for her, they're going to be really sorry that they tried. I also think the story is phenomenal because it's also true. The fact that Reform have picked someone who is a pundit for a right-wing news channel who stirs division and hate, and we, in a genuinely democratic process, have gone for the local plumber who's training to be a plasterer, who had to ask her teacher today if she could have the day off. I mean, that's the kind of history books are written in that way. Now, if that was just a superficial story, that would be amazing in itself, but it wouldn't have a depth to it. But there's a real depth to Hannah. She really, really cares. She is ready to fight injustice. She's been doing it every single day. And actually, I couldn't be prouder. I just can't wait to get out there with her campaigning.
Some polls have got it looking like a three-way race between the Greens, Labour and Reform. But the Greens have said that they can win it. I think Reform have said they can win it. Labour have said they can win it. What makes the Green Party different in this race?
Well, first of all, Labour have blown it. They've taken people's votes for granted for years, not just in Gorton and Denton, but right across the country. And people are looking for alternatives because they are furious with this Labour government, and they're right to be so. And it's not just me saying that. We also have Labour advisors on records to journalists saying they've blown it. So it's a little bit odd for them to try and get back into the race after they said, you know, it's not there. So it is between the Reform Party and the Green Party. And I think the first thing is we need to stop Reform. That is number one priority. This is a party that are deeply divisive, that are dangerous. We have in Nigel Farage, a man who wants to lick the boots of Donald Trump, who says that he admires Vladimir Putin, and a man who cares less about the 99% and is there to protect the 1%. But we know it's not enough just to criticise Reform, as tempting as it is. You have to be propositional, and the good news is the Green Party have a whole host of policies that I think will change Britain. So from lowering people's bills, from things like rent controls, from ending shareholder profits in water companies by nationalisation, from making sure that we're investing in our public services, through a fair taxation system, so making sure we're taxing multimillionaires and billionaires and bringing capital gains tax in line with income tax. Another way of saying that is to make work pay and to tax wealth properly and to have a different conversation about the economy. I'm absolutely convinced these are all the ways we're going to make hope normal again. And if you ask me to summon up someone who is going to do that brilliantly, you could do a lot worse than Hannah Spencer.
You've obviously known Hannah for a while now, both professionally and personally as a friend as well. What's her biggest strength that she's going to bring to this race?
Actually, her sense of humour, which sounds like an unusual attribute. There's loads of other things. She's really, really smart and she speaks brilliantly. But actually, I think humour is so lacking in politics. Let me qualify that. Humour is all over politics, but actually, we're often laughing at them. And when politicians make jokes, they're really badly delivered. They're a bit snidey and they're not actually kind of funny or witty. She is witty, she is smart, and she is kind. And that's a powerful combination.
Zach, thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Licking the boots of the billionaires, or Donald Trump, the 99% versus the 1%. These are key messaging that the left is usually quite good at, and I'm glad to see a political leader doing this. That's what we need to do. You know, stop being so nice. It's true. You know, Reform, Trump, or Reform, Matt Goodwin, whoever, they're all bootlickers for the billionaire class, and Donald Trump. It's pathetic stuff. So I'm liking what I'm hearing there. Now, it's clear that the race is between the Greens, Reform and Labour, with the Greens pushing the idea that it's between the Green Party and Reform. Hannah Spencer will go up against author, academic and GB News host Matt Goodwin. A couple of days ago, Find Out Now released a poll putting Reform way ahead with the Greens as a distant third. Now, there's a big problem with this poll. So you can see Reform 30%, Labour 27%, Greens 17%. Looks like a two-horse race where Greens have got a lot of catch-up, right? But look at the bottom. The sample size is 143. That is a fake poll, right? The standard of a poll is around 1,000. So it's just fake. Now, this poll was then amplified by Labour's Lucy Powell. I think we've got the same graphic up there. Let's go to 2.6. Maybe I've missed that one. I'll read out her tweet. So she says, this is what I've been saying. Only voting Labour defeats reform. A vote for the Greens or any party risks a Reform MP in Manchester. Again, she shared a poll which has 143 participants. This poll even made its way to Newsnight. So Michael Crick says, Newsnight are bonkers to mention an opinion poll in Gorton and Denton with a sample of just 143. 1,000 is the normal, respectable sample size. Nicholas Watt, who was doing the show, said, thanks, Michael. I made clear on Newsnight we were treating the poll with great caution because, one, very small sample size, which leads to much higher margin of error, and two, Workers' Party not included, and they got 10% in 2024. I said we were mentioning the poll because parties poring over it. I think that's a poor excuse for journalism there. First of all, there is no justification to have this poll. 143 people is not a poll. The idea that parties were poring over it, you had Lucy Powell share it, of course, but it's your journalistic duty to say, well, of course, political parties are going to use this poll if it works in their favour. And you have to say, well, by the way, they're quoting a poll which is 143 people, so shame on them. I mean, he shouldn't include the poll, and it's crazy that he tried to justify it. Now, find out now, the ones who conducted the poll have now apologised. Statement on our Gorton and Denton poll. We apologise for any confusion or misinterpretation caused by the way these results were reported and for any impression that the data was more precise than it could be given the small sample size. Although the poll suggests the race is likely to be close, it should not be analysed beyond that, for example, as indicating that one party is in the lead. We were not involved in how the results were initially reported to the media, although we sought to emphasise the small sample size and high margin of error in our comment to the initial article and on our website. This was not sufficiently reflected in the main coverage. We will take this into account for all future polling, including formalising clearer protocols to determine which results are suitable for public release, namely exercising extreme caution regarding polls with small sample sizes and how they should be presented externally. I mean, you should be making a statement saying, well, we didn't mean for the media to cover it in this particular way. I mean, you put the poll out there. You knew it was a bogus poll. You shouldn't even conducted the poll. If you get less than 800 people, you should not be publishing that. And they did that, and now they're like, we didn't realise that the media would pick up on it. Yes, because this pollster and the mainstream media are complete jokes. They're all jokes. It's ridiculous. Damo, what are your thoughts? Did the local Greens pick the right candidate?
Well, I thought you were going to ask me then about the BBC. That's a rotten shame. Okay, yes, the Green Party candidate, that is the important bit of this story, really, isn't it? I think the first thing I want to say, actually, is it's great that we actually had a contest and not just a coronation. We had 3 people who stood for it, which just goes to show the level of interaction and interest there is in this event in the Green Party, and everybody who was involved should be commended for putting themselves forwards here, because after all, they're all Greens, and, you know, this is what we want to see. If I'd had a vote for myself, yes, I would have backed Hannah Spencer. You know, I always sign my videos off for anybody who watches my channel with a line, holding power to account for ordinary working class people. And Hannah, being a 34-year-old plumber, now training to be a plasterer, she kind of fits that bill for me. So I sincerely hope she wins this now and goes to Parliament in her overalls, frankly. That would shake things up a little bit. I think it's a good sign that the Greens have shifted towards working class interests and working class people now, because so many naysayers are still saying to this day, still dismissing all of us, because, you know, I'm a Green as well, that they're still a liberal and a middle class party, and it's less and less true. And this is further evidence of that, I would like to think. It's, you know, she didn't just scrape through after all, as you showed in the poll there. She won decisively. It tells you the local Green members, they were not conflicted here, they were not divided here. This is kind of the shape of the Green Party in this country now. They looked at the field, overwhelmingly concluded she's the strongest option for this seat at this moment in time. It's exactly what they need. She's local, she's working class, she's already an elected councillor, she's got the campaign experience therefore. So it's exactly what you need in a by-election, where trust and recognition and having some kind of a ground presence really does matter more than ever, especially when Labour are losing ground and Reform are basically saying, we're going to take this and we're going to put up a complete muppet and you're going to vote for him because that's what we believe. We're at a point here where the Greens have now selected Hannah Spencer. I think it's a foregone conclusion Labour are going to end up parachuting in yet another Starmeroid because that's what always happens. And even if they happen to be a local to Manchester, they're always going to be seen as not Andy Burnham at this point. So they've completely shot themselves in the foot. I don't believe this is a 3-horse race for the record. I think it's a 2-horse race. I think Reform going for a hard right, how can I be kind to this? Right-wing mouthpiece, let's just go with that. In Matt Goodwin, who's only linked to the seat, seems to be getting called a wanker in the street. He really shouldn't have a hope in hell, quite frankly. I think, given that first bit of VT that we saw Hannah walking down the street talking about the flags, I think Matt Goodwin will quite happily talk about flags rather than any of the issues that she was asked about in that bit of VT by your roving reporter Callum with the lovely hair. Which I'll
shout and love to Callum.
Jealousy. But I want to come on to that poll as well that you've put up. Because this is why I say it's a 2-horse race, because that was put on the back of a poll of 143 people, which is flaming ridiculous. Find Out Now have apologized for it, but frankly they should have thrown the notion of running such a tiny poll out. If they had any credibility of their own, they should have chucked it out. But they conducted it, and they conducted it on behalf of a company called Better World Limited, which is the company of a Labour donor called Henry Tinsley. So you have a poll being commissioned by a Labour donor, which benefits Labour, you could argue, with a very, very small sample size, and now they've been caught out for it. And yet the BBC were happy to platform that on Newsnight. Frankly, the only thing I've got to say to that is because of course they did. This is the BBC all over. This is where journalism went to die. So you have what the Greens have done here is they picked the perfect candidate for this moment to put up against a Burke like Matt Goodwin, to put up against whatever empty suit Keir Starmer deems worthy of him to parachute in, and everybody else will be largely making up the numbers. I do think the Greens can do this. And I would love to see Hannah in Parliament because I think she would shake things up, even amongst the Green representatives there who, for better or worse, whatever you think of the Green MPs we already have, I think she would be a unique figure amongst them and she would really stand out.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm not a Green member, actually. But this particular race, I'm so desperate to see Hannah in there because of working class representation. And you're absolutely right. Like, there has been a sort of view that the Green Party were liberal and middle class, a charge that, you could be correct about maybe 10 years ago. But it's shifting. And I think that local Manchester party proved it.
So they
let you in. They let in a sodding socialist.
Yes, I'm a town councillor. They elected me as well. They're mad. But no, it's just what I mean. It's ordinary working class people have found, and socialists even, found a new home. The left has got a new home. And as much as so many people were waiting for the likes of Jeremy Corbyn to get his act together for so many years, never really happened. And when it did happen, look what happened. The Greens have had the momentum with them the whole way. It's not gone away. It's been consistent. The messaging has been consistent. Zach Polanski has been an absolute trailblazer in what a politician actually can do, can say, present themselves. And of course, the only thing they can pick on him about is his teeth. Well, look at mine. I can't tell you much about that either. I don't know what his reasons are. I was born with a cleft lip and palate. Shit happens, It's not the issue at the end of the day. It's the messaging. The left has got a new home again. We can push these policies. People are enthused. They're engaged once again, as we saw once before, 10 years ago, Corbynism, when it was at its height. We've got another chance, a chance that many of us on the left thought was never going to come when Corbyn was finally toppled. Yet we've got that chance again now. Are we, as a society, going to screw this up again? Because if you want change in this country, for God's sake, you're going to have to shake things up and stop voting the way you've always voted. It ain't going to work. It ain't going to deliver change. Keir Starmer proved that. He said he was change. He's delivered anything but. Zach Polanski's got something about him. And I believe what he has to say. So, prove me wrong.
Absolutely. I agree with so much what you're saying there. We could chat about this all night, actually, but we've got another 3 stories to get through. It's already 8:20, so we are going to swiftly move on to our next story. Konstantin Kisin, right-wing commentator, author, and co-host of the Trigonometry podcast, went on Question Time last night, quite frankly, got obliterated. During an exchange with Labour's Douglas Alexander, Alexander pulled out a smackdown on Kisin.
When Fraser Nelson put it to you that Rishi Sunak is absolutely English,
I said he's
what
British.
did you reply?
I said he's
no,
British.
you said he's a brown Hindu.
No, that's
How
not what I
is
said.
he
I said he's
English?
British. I said he's
How is
British.
he?
So Kisin was accused of saying that Rishi Sunak isn't English because he's a brown Hindu, prompting Kisin to say, well, it's not true. I didn't say that. I said he was British. Well, he just lied to the audience and to millions of people on national TV. Here is Kisin on his own podcast, Trigonometry.
I would say that Rishi Sunak is as English as Tizer and Wyferns, right? He is absolutely English. He was born and bred here. And I wouldn't say that the colour of his skin makes him any
He's
less.
a brown Hindu. How is he English?
Because he's born and bred here.
So by being born here, you become English, in your opinion?
Yeah.
I love that. By being born in England, you become English. You don't become English if you're born here, right? I mean, you're born. You're already English when you're born. That's a really weird phrase he's saying. But like, that is quintessentially racist, isn't it? To say that, well, Rishi Sunak certainly isn't English because he's a brown Hindu. Okay, then what about a white man who's half Polish, was born in this country, has an English accent? Would Kisin ever question whether he's English or not? Of course he wouldn't. Most of us have blood elsewhere. Most of us are descendants of immigrants, but the colour of one's skin is the only time that's called into question. So Kisin assumedly thinks that I'm not English. I was born in this country, and I have, by the way, it's not just about being born in this country. Obviously, it's part of it, but also it's the identity and culture you adopt. You know, I have very English identity because I've born and been amongst English people. I have the same interests as English people and British people. But, you know, that's him saying Rishi Sunak isn't English when he's very, you know, again, he's a conservative, don't like his politics. He's quintessentially English. He's a very posh Englishman, but like he's very, very English. And of course, he's trying to lie on Question Time, trying to get out of it. And this is what I find with these people. They're such, to excuse my French, pussies. They're pussies because they'll say something really, really bad, really, really racist in their own domain, whether it's tweeting it out, whether it's on his own podcast. And as soon as they get called out for it, they actually don't stand by their principles. He could say, you're absolutely right, I don't think Rishi Sunak is English. But he knows that the Question Time audience and those watching would be like, this guy's a racist, we don't like him. They're very aware of their politics and how their politics is hated. Now, don't get me wrong, we are seeing the rise of racism, we are seeing the rise of the far right, but most people would be like, you're English if you're born here and you have, you know, the English identity regardless of the colour of your skin. Most people would say that, and most people look at Kisin and be like, you're a nutcase, you're an idiot, you're a racist. So, in my view, why can't these people just stick to their guns and just openly admit that they're racist? They won't do it. In fact, they smear you by saying, well, you keep calling me racist, and no one's going to fall for it anymore. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, what's funny about this is he doubled down on Twitter. This is what he said. Amusing on Question Time tonight, tried to explain to Labour minister that calling people racist won't stop people's concerns about uncontrolled mass immigration, so he proceeded to imply that I am racist with prepared misquotes. Didn't address a single argument. Clip soon. I mean, he didn't give a misquote. That's a quote, and we've just shown you the video of what he said. It's crazy. Now, look, I'm sorry to say, and I'm obviously biased here, but all the right wing do is lie and lie and lie. You saw the footage on Question Time. You saw the footage on him on Trigonometry, and he's doubling down. Damo, we are constantly told that the left have become extreme, and those who are considered far right today were actually just centrist 10 years ago, whilst having prominent right-wing commentators saying Rishi Sunak isn't English. The reality is the debate has actually gone so far to the right, and we're facing a really dark future in politics.
Yeah. I mean, the left isn't becoming more extreme. It's just that we're staying still and everybody else is going, wee, that way with the Overton window. Or that way, whichever way. I'm mirrored, I think, aren't I? Anyway, yeah, the views that were considered fringe a decade ago are now being mainstream, but it's because the Overton window has just been skewed further and further to the right. You get a prominent commentator in the case here questioning whether Rishi Sunak is really English because he's brown-skinned. Well, newsflash, he was born in bloody Southampton. That makes him nothing but English. No matter what you think of him, no matter what you think of his politics or anything else, you can't get away from where he was born. Yet this is now apparently legitimate debate. It's madness. The whole society is getting reformed, if you like, but not in the good way, in the very, very bad way. And, you know, you've got other examples in politics that are driving this as well. The prime example is that of Keir Starmer and the fact he continues to keep trying to copy reform all the time. Instead of challenging that drift rightwards, he's just gone that way himself, dragged Labour that way, copying reform's language on migration and on protest and on belonging here. And, you know, he thinks that's going to get him voters from the far right. That seems to be what he's determined this is going to do. That seems to be what he's getting told, because let's face it, I don't think he has an original thought in his head. He has to be handled. So everything ends up getting dragged to the right anyway, and that Overton window just goes with it. And then you get the example that we've had here with Konstantin Kisin, which is the media compounding the problem by endlessly platforming the likes of Reform and right-wing culture figures like Kisin. Now, he's being represented here as a defender of British common sense, but with a name like Konstantin Vadimovich Kisin. He's Russian-born. He was born in Moscow. So who's more British, him or Sunak, if you want to think in those kind of terms? But he's made a career here, or become infamous, should we say, about talking about who belongs and who doesn't belong in Britain. And that isn't an attack on his background either, because I think he's actually mixed race himself. But it's about the double standard that's on show. And of course, nobody here would, you talked about yourself in your own experiences there, Curtis. If I were to look at myself in the same way, I can sit here with all the white supremacy in the world. I've got a Swedish grandfather. Nobody would know the difference. I would never get questioned about my right to belong here instead of getting bungled off to Västerbotten or whatever part of Sweden it was he was from. But people with immigrant backgrounds should be celebrated for policing belonging here, is what we're looking at, while others get questioned for their legitimacy. So it's not a good faith debate to begin with, because what you're doing is you're normalizing exclusion. And that's why moments like Kissing getting rinsed on Question Time matter more, because scrutiny exposes how shallow and inconsistent all of these arguments truly are. So no, the left isn't going too far, because the left is still the left. It's a political class, a media environment that keeps shifting their baseline rightwards. And then they act shocked when, exclusionary ideas come out and they start to sound normal. And if that continues unchecked, yes, the future does get darker. But it's not because people are demanding too much. It's because too many in power are refusing to draw lines here anymore. The only good aspect of this that I can see at all is that charlatans like Starmer are being exposed for who and what they are. And it's leaving a vacuum on the left behind them, which is now being filled by the likes of the Green Party, who are now getting more space to grow, and grow they absolutely are.
We also have to look at the responsibility of the BBC, because they're platforming him, they're platforming Nigel Farage. I mean, Nigel Farage, who often criticises the BBC for being left-wing, built his career. I mean, there will be no Nigel Farage as potentially Prime Minister if he wasn't constantly put on Question Time. In fact, I read a report that shows that Question Time often has a right-wing bent in terms of bringing on their guests. When it comes to journalists, typically they're right-wing over left-wing. Of course, I could have just seen that with my eyes and ears, but we have a report that says this. But we have these very people. I mean, Lawrence Fox is another example. They moan and they bleat about the lefty BBC, yet they get platformed for their views. And I think, look, I'm all for like open debate and free speech and stuff, but I do think you also have to question the integrity of people. It's not about banning right-wing people, but it's at least having intellectually curious right-wing people. Maybe they're a smaller number, but there's a couple of right-wingers out there I think are at least intelligent. But no, they just seem to be picking the loudest mouths now.
Yeah, I mean, journalism as a whole is bereft with people who are from a certain class I mean, all the criticism they aim at the Green Party is a reason to not vote for them. Actually, it's a good reason. You can apply it across the mainstream journalistic world in this country, across the board, and you can say, well, why are you listening to them? They're not your class. If you have to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth to get somewhere in the MSM these days. When was the last time you were on Question Time, Curtis? Remind me. Exactly. That's the point, isn't it? You're a lefty. You're a journalist. But you're not invited on because you're not the right sort of journalist. You won't make the right noises as the BBC want. The BBC, that's the sort of people that'll push a poll of just 143 people in it, as if that's somehow news, as if that's somehow some factual basis to base a media segment on, a narrative. And it's not. It's rubbish. It's nonsense. They shouldn't have given that poll the time of day. But they do, because it pushes a certain line. It pushes a certain narrative. Now, the likes of the BBC, which we fund, is even more unforgivable, I would argue, than, say, mainstream newspapers, which are run by billionaire press barons, because we're all more aware of the fact they're run by billionaire press barons these days. And you have to wonder about the integrity of a journalist who chooses to work for such a publication, because they're going to be given a narrative, they're going to be given an instruction, they're going to be given a line that they have to follow, that they have to toe, and their articles and what they pass off as news to inform us is not. So, where do you draw a line? Well, they get some credibility left, or get some credibility back if they have the likes of you on these shows, and not the likes of the usual muppets that they keep platforming, who talk drivel and get overpaid for it.
I love a bit of BBC bashing, but again, everything you said, you're right. It's easily done, though, isn't it?
And we just throw them down because it's just day after day. It's, oh God, what have they done now?
The British
bad.
It's the British bullshit corporations, isn't it, Damien?
Highest broadcasting corporation, because they're towing a line, and we can all see it.
Okay, let's move on. Once again, brilliant stuff from Damo. Such a fantastic guest. But before we go on to our next story, of course, just want to say it's 2026, and we want this year to be big for Turn Left. We want to be far more ambitious than last year, and we need to put Turn Left on the map. We obviously would like to have a studio this year, and for our contributors to be paid for the work we do. Your support over the years has been incredible, and we are ready to take this to the next level. We rely on small donations, so if you want to be part of a media organisation that seeks to destroy the oligarchs, then please head over to turnleftmedia.co.uk/support. There you can support us monthly on Patreon, or there is another link for a one-time contribution. You can also become a YouTube member for 99p. Next story. The Greens for Palestine group have launched motion A105, which is called Zionism is Racism, which will be voted on at the Green Party Spring Conference. The demands include: declare the Green Party as an explicitly anti-Zionist party, rejects the IHRA and JDA definitions that conflate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, support a single Palestinian state with equal rights for all residents, affirm Palestinian self-determination and legitimate resistance, call for full embargoes and boycotts, divestment, sanctions, BDS, demand the release of all political prisoners, including Marvin Barghouti, de-prescribe Palestine action, support the demands of Prisoners for Palestine. In a statement, they wrote, the motion urges the Green Party to declare itself an anti-Zionist party while rejecting attempts to conflate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism or to create hierarchies of racism. We are clear that not all Jews are Zionist and not all Zionists are Jewish. Opposition to a political ideology and the policies of a state must not be misrepresented as hostility toward Jewish people who hold diverse political views, including opposition to Zionism. Earlier today, I caught up with the Greens for Palestine steering group member Lubna Spaitan to discuss. For those who may not be familiar, can you briefly go through why you believe Zionism itself is a racist concept?
Well, I don't know how much more I really need to explain. The whole world is witnessing it live stream. I mean, this is the practice based upon the racist ideologies of Zionism, which is based upon settler colonialism, supremacy, and now, unfortunately, we are seeing and witnessing it in practice. And that is resulting in the erasure of our people in Palestine which will have long and imploding effects, a ripple effect beyond that. This is a worldwide issue that should concern everybody, because it certainly does affect everyone.
So reading in the demands, it states that the Greens should Palestinian state with equal rights for all residents. Does that mean calling for a one-state solution, or does it mean calling for a separate state for Palestine alongside Israel, i.e. a two-state solution?
A single democratic Palestinian state with Jerusalem as its eternal capital and equal rights for all. This is what we are confronting. It is a racist regime who has denied us our rights for decades, and now we're witnessing what is an existential threat, which is beyond Palestine. It is also something that we're going to see, we're already seeing across the region. There is no justification for it. And what we're doing here is exposing the hypocrisy, the double standards, the way that this state has continued to deny rights, the prejudice, the suppression, state repression is on the increase as we're witnessing. It is a grave injustice, and one that it has to be exposed, it has to be confronted. And without doing that, and the cruxes of it, which is Zionism, the fundamentals that this was built upon, it should never have happened. And who has the right to give away a land they had no right to give? The fact that our people are now forced to pay for crimes that we didn't commit. The fact that we have all lived and existed together peacefully, irrespective of religion. For hundreds of years, there was never a problem in the instance, and it's now used to justify what we're witnessing.
Do you think that the sort of two-state solution is over? I mean, of course, that's the sort of liberal mainstream position, a two-state solution, but is that even viable? And does a two-state solution kind of feed the Zionist narrative that it's about protecting a apartheid genocidal state of Israel?
That's all it is to protect. It's the imperialist watchdog of the Middle East. It's designed, literally, there is no, that is not a solution. This is like the nail of the coffin of apartheid on us. And we even in spite of all agreements, negotiations, the wavering of our rights, even to resist, it still has resulted in, beyond now apartheid, we are looking at our erasure. This is not a solution. The only solution, the only true viable solution will be to dismantle it, to dismantle a system of apartheid, of racism, of genocide, and to reinstate a homeland that did provide equality for all. That is the only solution left. It's it's literally all or nothing, now or never situation. And it's like I keep reiterating to people, when you endorse this upon Palestine and it's acceptable, it becomes accepted and the norm. What are you saying to the rest of the world here? Beyond the litmus test, it is a test of compliancy.
During Jeremy Corbyn's leadership of the Labour Party, he and those of us on the left faced smears and weaponisation. In your view, can the Green Party and the wider left combat anti-Semitic accusations this time when it comes to anti-Zionist politics? Is there lessons we can learn from beforehand?
Of course. What happened beforehand was because it wasn't confronted. People didn't confront it, and that has paved the way for what we're witnessing now, the enforced rollout of the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. It's all designed not to protect Jews from discrimination for them being Jewish, but to protect a racist state, to protect Israel, to silence Palestinian voices, to silence advocates of our voices. And it has set a brutal, it's a weaponization of a term. There's so much, we've literally written essays on this subject, and it's both the JDA, the IHRA, and there are others. And unless we confront that and bring this back to, and really challenge it, these things again won't be changed. And sadly, what happened in Corbyn's era should be a huge lesson to everybody, not to sit silently, because that has literally given it on a plate, this measure of, again, silencing. And the smear campaign, it's all part of that. It's the Hasbara, the propaganda. We're going to accuse you of this if you oppose Zionism and genocide. Okay, you're an anti-Semite. oh, if you resist or you support resistance, oh, you're a terrorist. So, okay, if this is the terms that you want to use and to further oppress us and violate, okay, we'll wear it as a badge of honor for the rest of us. Everybody was a terrorist at one point, whether it's the Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto who was resisting, the South Africans, the Congolese. They've done it to us all. Anyone who opposes their systematic oppression and their violations of our rights, of course, they're going to smear us. But what I say to everyone, we have to stand up, oppose it, and do it for all of us, because as we've seen its effects. They've been absolutely detrimental, and without confronting it and challenging it, those things won't change. So we're here to protect everybody's rights equally, without creating hierarchies of racism, without justifying genocide, and without denying and infringing upon the rights of others, which is exactly what those definitions are designed to do.
For Green Party members, when is the vote happening at the conference and how they can get involved?
The amendment period will take place for this coming week after Standing Order Committee rules. And I believe it's the 28th of March, the dates for the spring conference. This one will take place online. And the following one will be autumn, I believe, in Leeds. So, yeah, we need the comrades in. It's had an overwhelming response from comrades, and actually has now broken the record, from what I understand, of how many people have supported the motion. This should send a big message, within both the party and outside of it. And this is what we intend to do. It's already victorious in the sense that that process of addressing the narrative has begun, of confronting what needs to be confronted. It is starting, and we hope this will continue, and we encourage everybody to speak up, to support this, to put this motion in, other parties here and abroad. This is something that we can't be silent on now. It is literally, this could be the beginning of the end of that, and the liberation with it for all people. And we're witnessing what's happening. We stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Sudan, in Yemen, all these other places now under threat, Congo. It doesn't end here. And sadly, what's happening is now on the backs of the Palestinians. This now sets a precedent that we must desperately confront, and just refuse ultimately to be compliant. And our silence would do that. It's a duty. It is a duty for all of us. And we've been sitting here, 56 of our family already slaughtered, now the rest in the West Bank under attack. And I just recently visited them about 3 months ago, and heart-wrenching. It's no existence. The hell that they've had to endure long before this, a horrifying genocide, which is now expanding as we're watching across the West Bank. And my greatest fear in leaving them is that goodbye. It's not like I'm going to see, or there's any assurance that I'll ever even see them again. And leaving there, they've already been annexed. They've already been torn from their homes, where we just came from, where our family have lived for decades. And it's just one of our cousins taken. They've either killed him already, or he's currently being tortured. This is the fate. It's so brutal, and it pained me. It pained me to leave them, because that goodbye, I don't know when I'm, or if, or who I'm ever going to see again. And you leave them with this grave uncertainty, knowing that you would rather be there by their side, fighting it with them, than have to watch their onslaught from a distance, feeling helpless. And my family said to me, Lubna, there's so much more you can do there than we can. We can't speak. We can't wear our keffiyehs. We can't raise our flags. Textbooks are even being removed from the school, so the Palestinian children can't know their history. The checkpoints, this continued humiliation and demonization, and it's baker's belief. There is nothing that prepares you for what you're going to see when you're there on the ground. All the footage has been horrifying enough. But they said to me, Lubna, please go back. If you stay here, this is what's going to happen to you. They'll kill you. They'll torture you. You will be silenced. This is it. But go back to London. Speak up for us. Tell them Tell them what it's like, and please don't give up. Say the things that we cannot. And I will honour that till my last breath, and I will not be silenced. And I don't fear whatever threats are made, whatever doxing, all the rest that they do, part of their hasbro. We know. And we confront it fearlessly, because there is far worse to come if we don't. And I just thank the movement. I thank the comrades for stepping up, for speaking out, and all of those that have taken the brave risks that they have to confront this. And this is so desperately needed. And I just have so much love and solidarity. And I've sent these messages back home that the people are fighting. They are trying to silence us. The media don't want to put these stories out. There's contortion of the truth and denial of the reality of what's happening. But we won't stop. We won't.
That was the Greens for Palestine's Lubna Speighton. The full interview will be out tomorrow. A very powerful interview, actually. And I, again, thank her for her personal stories. On to our final story. Nigel Farage and the far right say they want to stop the boats. So why are they working with a country helping to create so many refugees? This week, a French intelligence outlet called Intelligence Online published a leaked UAE memo showing the authorities in Abu Dhabi are working with European far-right social media accounts to push pro-UAE propaganda and foreign policy narratives. That adds serious weight to something multiple outlets have hinted at, and something our very own Lewis Aaron was flagging last year, long before it went mainstream. Why are far-right figures like Tommy Robinson suddenly pushing pro-UAE talking points about the Muslim Brotherhood and Yemen, places they probably couldn't point to on a map? Tommy isn't named in the leak, but Visegrad24, a far-right account with 1.5 million followers, is directly named. The Emirati Foreign Ministry regards Visegrad24 as a tool of influence, but nevertheless advises that if cooperation takes place, it should be through an unofficial entity. Furthermore, Abu Dhabi is of the opinion that cooperation with this platform in any form may lead to diplomatic, political, or media issues with our countries, as it openly and strongly focuses on attacks against Qatar, Iran, and Russia. It also emphasizes that Visegrad24 has adopted Israel's narrative regarding the war in Gaza. Now, Tommy isn't the only main focus here. Nigel Farage and recent Tory defector Nadeem Zahawi. But it's worth noting, before we move on, that Tommy only started heavily posting about Yemen, the UAE, and banning the Muslim Brotherhood a few months ago. And on the 27th of January, both Tommy and Visegrad24 posted the same video of the same MEP doing a speech within hours of each other. Tommy praised the UAE's role in Yemen as stabilising. I mean, just a coincidence? That's dozens of posts with similar patterns. Probably also a coincidence that many of these posts are written in American English, almost like they come from a script. And another coincidence that Tommy recently turned up in Dubai saying he was invited in a now viral clip where he asked why he's in a Muslim country if he hates Muslims. Speaking of invitations, Nigel Farage has just returned to the UAE for the second time in 2 months. Intelligence Online had already speculated about these trips and speculated about a recent Tory defector. Nadeem Zahawi defected to the far-right party on the 12th of January. A regular guest in Abu Dhabi, Zahawi has strong networks in the country that could help Farage find his feet there. Then The Guardian confirmed who Farage was with in the UAE, Zahawi and his wife, and GB News owner Paul Marshall, who owns a share of GB News, roughly the same size as Legatum Ventures Limited, a private investment firm based in, you guessed it, Dubai. Now, a quick reminder, it was reported last month GB News pays damages after airing untrue claims by UAE influencer about Islamic Relief Amjad Taha had falsely claims the charity had funded terrorist organisations, an allegation GB News accepts as wrong. The UAE has long been fixed on Islamic Relief, painting it as a branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. Just another coincidence. another coincidence that GB News has published over a dozen articles this month alone about the Muslim Brotherhood. We're just pointing out parallels, right? We're not trying to get sued. The same intelligence report also revealed, in order to direct exposure of Abu Dhabi, the Ministry's Strategic Communications Department has compiled a list of 6 influencers and local figures active on social media who are not officially affiliated with the Emirati government. Let's go graphic 12. This is Habib al-Mullah, second to the right, and Nadim Zahawi, third from the left. And according to Gulf News, Zahawi and al-Mullah both sit on the advisory board of Omniat, a luxury property group worth billions and are based in Dubai. I'm sure that's another coincidence. So what do the UAE actually want? According to Middle East Eye, the United Arab Emirates paid for British politician Nigel Farage to travel to Abu Dhabi to meet senior officials over a shared opposition to the Muslim Brotherhood. It has emerged. On Wednesday, the Financial Times reported that Abu Dhabi gave Farage accommodation and passes to attend a Formula One race, valued at around £1,000, according to the Register of MPs' Interests. The Muslim Brotherhood promotes a form of Islamic political participation. After the Arab Spring, the UAE came to see that idea as a direct threat to its survival. So they've spent years trying to get the Brotherhood banned and labelled terrorist worldwide. And now they've found willing allies in Europe's far right. And as Farage, as of September 2025, has committed to banning the Muslim Brotherhood. So they've spent years trying to get Brotherhood banned and labelled terrorist worldwide, and now they found willing allies in Europe's far right. Now, here's the final part. The UAE is bankrolling the war in Sudan, which has displaced over 10 million people in what's described as the worst humanitarian crisis in modern history. So the same far-right figures shouting about migrants and refugees are quietly working with the state helping to create even more of them. Damo, lots of ties all around, the far-right connected with foreign states. What are your thoughts?
This is quite a nest of vipers that, it has to be said, Lewis dug up first and the mainstream media finally caught up to him. He's kudos to Lewis for the work he's put into this. It's astonishing stuff. I only became aware of it sort of last week when I was going to be on the show with him then, and I was catching up on his TikToks because he does rather well on there these days, doesn't he? And yeah, it was one of them. He was talking about this as well, and you know, all of this is now coming from what is a specialist intelligence outlet, actually. So you know, it's certainly another credible source that supports what Lewis has been talking about for a while now, and it's far more serious than a few awkward coincidences here. I'm not a big fan of coincidence, especially not in politics, especially not with the political right wing either. You get this pattern of alignment between Europe's far right and a foreign state which is pursuing its own nefarious schemes, and you know they just get on too well, even despite all the rhetoric about migration and refugees and how the UAE is involved in, well, possibly creating a few of them. Because, I mean, you start with Nigel Farage, if we're going to start anywhere here, and you get others that frame themselves as the defenders of our borders and opponents of migration and standing on the White Cliffs of Dover and pointing out small votes. And yet they're perfectly comfortable being wined and dined in the opulence of Dubai and in the UAE. And this is a state that is deeply implicated. I mean, people talk about Israel as being one of the real rotter in the Middle East. The UAE, all things considered, is not far behind. This is a state that is deeply implicated in conflicts and repression that are actively generating refugee flows. You mentioned Sudan there, the genocide in Sudan, which is the biggest humanitarian crisis on the planet. It dwarfs what's happening in Gaza in terms of numbers and scale. There's also been the recent conflicts in Yemen, of course, which were trying to split the country. We saw the UAE come to a head with Saudi Arabia, and they're not getting on so well anymore. They're one of these states that seems to have a lot of fingers and a lot of pies. And of course, their objective in this, as you mentioned, the Arab Spring, they come to see any form of a political Islam particularly the Muslim Brotherhood, as an existential threat to themselves. And so, as you've said, they've spent years trying to get them banned and marginalized and labeled terrorists and all the rest of it. And now Farage is jumping on that. And of course, Europe's far right do have their own motives, their own reasons for pushing this as well, because it all folds rather neatly into their culture war politics, and especially around Islam and Islamophobia, which is, synonymous with their part of the political spectrum. So you've got these interests that are overlapping here. And then you start to see, of course, the shared language, which you mentioned, and the shared amplification through online networks and the media that starts to treat this as alignment as something normal, to normalize it. And that's where you get the likes of GB News coming in here and other, far right platforms, because they'll help to launder all of this into the language of common sense, because they do love that word, those two words, don't they? Common sense, and revolving everything around it. But the same voices that are shouting the loudest about migrants, if this report is accurate, are actually working with or benefiting from relations with a state. They're helping to produce more displacement on a massive scale, especially Sudan, especially because Sudanese are bleeding into neighboring states and they can't necessarily stay there. So where are they going to end up heading? Well, we know the pattern of migration through Africa these days well enough by now, don't we? So it suggests that the panic about refugees has never been about human suffering. It's about weaponizing the issue for political gain. That's what it's always been about, these figures like Farage. It's a bandwagon they can jump on time and time again, because if they can get people hating a certain demographic, a certain thing, then they're not going to be looking at the things that people should be really angry about, like the people who basically bankroll and back the likes of Nigel Farage, a guy with 10 jobs in Parliament these days, or have I missed a few? And that money was just resting in my account. Nadeem Zahawi, on top of that, he with his tax evasion issues of a few years ago, which we've not forgotten about, which didn't seem to preclude him from joining Reform UK at all. I mean, none of it's surprising at the end of the day, Curtis, is it?
And I think as well, I mean, you can bring in Israel to this, because when we speak about the far right and their sort of anti-Islam politics, a lot of it serves Zionism in Israel, because they want to create a race and religious war rather than it's about geopolitics. It's about imperialism. And you see the likes of Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage, etc., trying to make their politics anti-Islam as if it's kind of a place of principle. And my God, a lot of these people don't have a place of principle. It turns out, oh, look, they're accepting money, or they've got links to Israel or the UAE. And you just think, obviously, I think these views are abhorrent, but when are we ever going to find a right-winger who actually believes in what they're saying? Because usually they're pushing something and you magically find these links. You've got Nigel Farage, who says he cares about immigration and wants to bring it down. Yeah, he spent his time trying to grant visas for rich people. He wants to see the capital flow there. It's only poor working class people he's against migration. When it comes to Tommy Robinson, oh, he's a nationalist and he's Britain first. No, he's not. No, he's absolutely not. We've seen his links to Israel. We see this a lot. I mean, when we had the Unite the Right rally earlier this year, or sorry, last year now, actually, we're in 2026. Last year, all these figures come over. They're talking about, oh, it's about the United Kingdom. And you had a bunch of foreign far-right figures come over. You had Elon Musk, okay, a South African billionaire fascist. I mean, these people are not talking about Britain. They're not from Britain. Again, you don't have to be British to come over and talk about politics. But if it's specifically about caring about Britain, these people, it's funny. And they always say, oh, we hate the globalists, which is a dog whistle, by the way. But they love their global politics. But their global politics is in favor of imperialism, genocide, and standing up for the oligarchy.
Yeah, I'll be quite happy standing around with a placard saying "down with that sort of thing." Just throwing another Father Ted reference in there, because I know it's been picked up in the comments. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, their patriotism runs only flag deep, I suppose, is one way of putting it. Money speaks a lot louder than any of that does. They would happily drape themselves on any flag going if it meant a bit of money. Look what happened when Nigel Farage got asked to do a remembrance thing for Ian Watkins. recently. Happily took money for that. Completely clueless. But then you wonder, is he really that clueless, or did he just take the money because, well, that's how cheap he is?
80 quid off cameos that he makes.
It is 80 quid a cameo. That's the one. I mean, all right work if you can get it, I guess. But he doesn't need it. I mean, how many jobs does this bloody bloke need? Is he ever in Clacton? No. I mean, good God. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's dumbfounding, frankly. I really don't know what else to add to it, because it's just another, oh God, here goes the right wing again, because this is what we've come to expect from them. They will do whatever the billionaire class want them to do. So why are you, who might be watching this, why are you voting for these people? Why are you considering voting for these people? How many times does it have to be demonstrated that they don't represent you? Your interests mean nothing to these people. The only thing that matters to these people is money, how they can get more of it, and they don't care really where it comes from. And they'll happily grift to their heart's content, their weaselly black guts out over it. But it's never enough. And they'll just carry on doing it. Life's a grift.
Well put. Life's a grift. Well put. Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so we're going to get to our comments section. Let's bring in Sarah Dalal, our producer. We've got blank faces. Here we go. We're back. We're back.
Sorry. Oh, oops. Oh my God, I'm so shit. Hello,
No, you're right.
everybody. Oh my God, what a great show. I have loved every minute of it. Damo's analysis. I've even loved the tech issues. I feel like it brings us all closer together.
Who loves the tech issues? No,
because I
you
feel
can
like
see on my face I don't like them. I'm like,
Curtis, it's
I'm such
character building and it brings the community together. And
it's my OCD, I reckon.
We struggle together. But I think it's been an excellent show. Of course, it's the producer, Sarah. So let's just go through our we've had people have been so incredibly generous tonight, like how bloody wonderful. Firstly, thank you so much to Cole Sylvester, who became a member and then gifted a tenner and said, very excited to see Hannah Spencer as the Green Party MP candidate in Gorton and Denton. I've had the pleasure of meeting her, a precious, caring, erudite being. Oops, guys! Oh my God! Oh God! I was gonna make a joke.
I've never met her, but like just on camera, she seems really lovely and down to earth and normal. And I think it speaks to the make hope normal again. Just have normal politics. Let's have normal people.
But the irony is, was it Damo that said this? The irony is that this is, oh no, who was it? Oh, sorry, it was Zach Plansky. Oops, feels like a lifetime ago that I was listening to that interview. Basically that I hope that people can see through the fact that she is a working class person, but they're voting in people who pretend to be working class by having pints in pubs. So I don't know if that will be enough to convince the masses, but I hope. She just seems so down to earth, and I think that's what politics needs. Right. Antifa Vegan Boy gifted 20 Turn Left memberships.
Oh, wow. Thank you. That's really generous.
Super generous. Thank you so much. Bungle and George 808. Zach's messaging has been absolutely superb, and Hannah's message on page was simply fine. Facts. If you want to be a true patriot, literally contribute to the country. Like in terms, not even like, I'm not talking like monetary wise, I'm just talking about building a community.
Well, like, community, right?
Community.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, if you're on benefits, you're not a patriot. Not that crap.
No,
but like,
no, not that shit.
Caring about your fellow person is the true meaning of patriotism.
Exactly.
But I think the right wingers see the country as a concept, and they think your devotion to the state is what patriotism is. No, it's not. Devotion to the people, whether you're born here or not, if you're just inside the borders, the devotion should be to everyone.
Exactly. Agreed. And then 5 Turn Left memberships. I always avoid saying
Legend.
the names. I never know how to say it.
Do X.
I don't know. Is it French?
Do X. Oi.
Oi. I always gonna say oi. Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. Y'all got funny names.
Specs are wonderful as ever. 5 Turn Left memberships, and then £20 from blah blah.
Thank you,
blah, saying for the Turn Left Studio Fund.
Thank you. We'll get there one day.
Broom cupboard.
Yeah, I didn't want to say Ollie because I didn't know if you wanted your name out there.
Oh, Ollie from Discord. I'm
so I know who
sorry.
you are, but I
Yeah,
didn't want to
don't want to dox.
Yeah, I wanted to be nice. Right, let's get to the comments. So, secret dance move. Said they put up all this effort for flags but don't volunteer. They're to food banks, helping homeless, helping the elderly, which is exactly what Hannah was saying. I'm glad we're all in the same boat for that. Appreciation to Callum, shout out Callum about going out there and interviewing.
Absolute W for Callum.
Today. Yeah, fucking win. And then I just want to keep sharing the fact that everyone's bigging up Callum. It's great job, Cal, you luscious haired reporter. And then Edward saying, good stuff, Cal, that's dedication, mate. Literally, imagine. And literally, you said it, Curtis, all volunteers.
I mean, he was rushing around to get Karen Lucas interview, right? Then he was rushing to edit the footage, get it up for tonight, and then he's gone to work.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. This is all, one day we're going to get paid. We will. From your donors.
You'll get your lives back.
This is our lives for now.
That's it. I know the feeling.
And sorry, Secret Dance, you've always just pick the same people sometimes. It's not intentional. But Secret Dance, you said it's funny as someone who has parents from Poland and they were born in Poland but grew up in England is suddenly English because they are white. And it points to what you were saying, Damo, that no one's going to question your Britishness. And it's interesting that when you have these conversations with them, and you call it out for what it is and that it's racialized, it's racism, and they say no it's not. It's not racism.
It's one of those most obvious forms of racism. It goes back to what Diane Abbott said and got herself into a bit of a tizzy over it, but some forms of racism are obvious.
Yeah.
And, but the difference between Kissing being born in Russia, me having a Swedish grandfather, well, you wouldn't necessarily know it, not to speak of. And it doesn't have any bearing on somebody like Curtis being from Bristol or Rishi Sunak being from Southampton because they're British. They're English or Cornish, as the case may be. But, it's all much of a muchness. And if you're just going to boil it down to skin color, meaning you cannot be this, that, or the other because even though you were born there, well, you're just talking bollocks.
Maybe if Cornwall becomes his own country, I'll join you there.
I'll come. Yeah. And then I don't know what you guys think about this. Oh, sorry, actually, no. Yeah, two-state solution seems like a good compromise until you consider one side is unwilling to compromise. And yeah, I think that's true. But then Secret Dance Move, sorry, I've come back to you again. He says, or they say, no, the two-state solution is not the solution. And I don't think it's the solution now. It seemed like the solution at one point, but now doesn't seem like...
It's not a solution if nobody's working towards it.
Exactly.
It's been an excuse for decades now.
Facts.
And it's to excuse Israel. We're all more aware of it now as a society. We've all seen more of it now. Israel has exposed themselves. They've jumped the shark. There's no putting it back in the box. Zionism is a racist endeavor. It now has to be dealt with. There can only be a single state solution, in my view. There can't be a two-state solution.
Yeah.
I agree.
What that state is going to end up looking like, I couldn't tell you.
Exactly.
I mean, I think... Sorry, I cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think there were a lot of well-meaning people who supported the two-state solution. And I'm not principally against a two-state solution, but it seems clearer and clearer and clearer that it just can't work. And the idea that you can have a state of Israel next to a state of Palestine, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Israel is going to continue to bombard Palestine. They're going to continue to try and annex Palestine. For Israel, a Palestinian state alongside an Israeli state is just a bit of paper for them. They're not going to suddenly go, oh, well, we can't touch you. Now, of course, one might say, yeah, but they get extra protections under the UN now because they're a state. Well, when did Israel give a fuck what the UN thinks or international law? So actually, in terms of just keeping people safe and stopping the war, a one-state solution, whatever it may be, whatever it's called, of equal rights seems to be the only logical solution. And do you know what? That's down to Israel. They've undermined their own sort of position because a two-state solution maybe could have been viable had Israel just not been genocidal psychopaths.
Exactly.
But because they are, we're going to be like, well, clearly two-state solution is too much of a compromise for you. You're not going to change the way you are. So we need a one-state solution where Jewish people, Arab people, Palestinians, whoever can live under, in my view, or I'm not Palestinian, I don't live there, ultimately it's self-determination, under a secular state where people can practice their religion and their faith for however they please.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to support a two-state solution, but I don't anymore. And I think because Israel's made it completely, and the Israeli state has made it unviable. And I think at this point, you pick between apartheid and actually working towards, I don't know, equality. But I don't think that that's something that is going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately. I wish it would, but I don't think it will. Right. Paul Smith said, this was when we moved on, but he said that's one of the many reasons why I don't want Jeremy as leader of your party. He allowed the weaponisation of anti-Semitism to take root in the UK by not standing up to it. What are your thoughts?
He didn't push back on it hard enough. I think there's no denying he didn't push back on it hard enough. Everything they threw at Jeremy Corbyn for all those years to try and bring him down didn't work until that one was allowed to take hold. Yes, it exists in every major body organization. It's a societal ill. There's no denying that. Nobody denies anti-Semitism exists. But there was no problem, should not have been a problem, with denying the weaponization of it. That should have been pushed back on far harder. And now it's run for years, to the point that people are, get seriously scared, that don't want to appear to challenge these things too much. And I mean, I don't know if you've had a similar experience, Curtis, where people have come up to you and say, I think you're so brave for speaking out against Israel and stuff like that. It's not. It's what everybody has to do. Otherwise, we're not going to get this bloody put back into where the society needs to have this thing. This is why this green motion over Zionism is so important, because it's a step on the way to doing that. And as I said, I support it. I'll put my name to it as well now. And I think it really needs to... I desperately hope that it passes, because then the Greens would become an anti-Zionist political party in this country. They would be taking a stance on that. And it's the right stance to have, because it is racism. It does need to be called out. And weaponizing anti-Semitism because you don't like that notion, well, that's racist in and of itself. That's the real anti-Semitism. And it's high time people got put back in their box who've been doing it for too long and getting away with it.
Yeah, I mean, I interesting with Jeremy Corbyn. I mean, objectively, yes, it was wrong not to push back. I mean, I do sympathise with him a little bit, because, at the time, and he was wrong to think it, but at the time, him and his team believed, look, if we just accept these things, they'll shut up, right? Margaret Hodge won't say all this sort of stuff or speak out against the Labour Party. At the end of the day, this is a historic moment in which we could at least push through a radical social democratic domestic program. I mean, there was no way that Jeremy Corbyn was going to change the state in terms of foreign policy. One man can't do that. In fact, even Parliament of 200 MPs could not do that. But I think for him and people around him were thinking, we may be able to redistribute wealth and power. We may be able to have sort of public ownership of public services. So in his mind, he was probably thinking, I don't want to try and almost like push my luck a bit. But of course, as we saw, there is no amount of capitulation you can give to those that love Israel and to the Zionists, because they'll move on to something else. He adopted the IHRA definition, which is extremely problematic, which completely silenced Palestinian voices within the Labour Party. An example saying that Israel is a racist endeavour, which, if you're Palestinian, is an absolutely fair thing to think. And Israel is a racist endeavour because that's the definition of apartheid. That was a view that you're not allowed to have under the IHRA definition. So he capitulated and the Zionists didn't let up. I think, maybe we can have hindsight 2020 vision and look back. What I do think, though, is the past is the past, and we know what happens if you capitulate, and that's a lesson we absolutely need to learn. I also think, in a way, since the 7th of October, I've made this point a few times, that despite the horrors of it, of course, in terms of what Israel's done since, so since the October till today, I mean, the IDF finally admits that 70,000 people were killed. It's probably more. That people have realised how bad Israel is, and the anti-Semitism weaponization doesn't work as much as they used to. Because I think people are thinking, well, hold on a second. I'm seeing Israel commit all these atrocities. I'm seeing footage of children. I mean, we all saw that. I think he was in his teens. It was burnt alive from a strike. It was a strike at hospital from the IDF, right? People are seeing that, and then you criticize Israel, and you're seeing political commentators saying, well, that's anti-Semitic. Clearly it's not washing anymore. So in that sense, we have the upper hand, but it feels kind of disgusting to say that because that's at the expense of all the people that are killed since October. But I think the left absolutely has learned its lesson, and we're not going to capitulate this time.
I hope so. We can't afford to.
Well, I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. One can only hope. And then just compliments to Lubna. I think she deserves a massive shout out.
Absolutely.
So much clarity, and like what Cole Sylvester said, speak so clearly and passionately. Thank you for bringing us her voice. I think all thanks goes to her. It's great that Kirsty provided a space for her to do that, but I think the fact that she did it, I think is great. It takes a lot of guts to do that. And then Edward as well, fucking A, great stuff. Lubna, such courage, solidarity to her, and free Palestine. Absolutely. And then Michael said on the last story, considering how late Lewis is usually, he is bloody on the ball with info. He is. This is true.
He's incredible.
He is.
Not to toot our own members' horn, but he is an incredible journalist. And I say that because not only is he very good with detail and digging things out, right? But there's something which mainstream journalists who are taught to, do the proper processes, but they lack the integrity. And yet Lewis has the integrity, which is why often he'll find a story in which the mainstream media hasn't picked up on. And I know, he's told me, he's got mainstream outlets speaking to him because of the work he's doing on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. He's doing fucking great work. He's doing great work. And I don't think he gives himself enough credit. So
no, he doesn't. He's too modest.
They'll chase him sniffing for details. They would never give him a job.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. I don't want him being taken advantage.
He's not one of them, which is the point I was making earlier. They're of a certain class, the mainstream media journalists in this country. It's impossible to break through to it unless you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, unless the bank mum and dad can support you through your first year or two learning on the job, so to speak. Anybody else doesn't have a hope in hell of getting a foot in the door in that respect. What you guys do here, well, social media's allowed people like you and Lewis and the others to do here.
And yourself.
It's incredible.
And you, Damo.
I'm a gobshite.
Oh, no.
But, what you guys do is absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant, and it cuts through. You've got a platform for yourselves. It's just a shame we have to keep jumping to and fro and fighting tooth and nail because billionaires keep buying up certain platforms. But such is the world we have to work in.
Yeah, and the thing is, Lewis is a working class lad from Leeds, so statistically he could never be a mainstream media journalist because he's not a public school boy. He didn't go to private school. Doesn't schmooze at spectator garden parties.
Precisely, not like Rishi Sunak did. Oh no, but he's not British, is he?
Yeah.
Or English, or what is he? No, let's not go there again. Yeah.
Speaking of posh twats, Farage is making the rounds on their news. Not you, vegan boy. Farage is making the rounds on their news channels, talking about how he wants to apply their approach to law and order in the UK.
That means ice, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it means ice. Of course it does. It's disgusting, grotesque.
I was getting my nails done yesterday, and my nail lady said to me that I probably shouldn't say this. One of her clients came, and on the Friday is the day that Muslims go to the mosque and they do their Friday prayer. One of her clients came in and said, "Cool, it doesn't look like England anymore," and then made reference to what's going on in the US would be probably beneficial in the UK. And I was like, fucking hell. The fact that there's just regular schmegular people who are saying these things as well and don't see anything wrong with what's happening over there is insane to me, where people are literally being killed. Children are sitting in detention centres having their childhoods robbed from them. I don't know how people see this as normal. So yeah,
because they're dribbling wretches, you watch TV news.
Yeah.
And it'll happen to them soon. They all think, I'm fine. You're not. I mean, the oligarchs and the 1% will use minorities, right, to gain power, but they're not doing it because they care about you, because even if you're white, if you're a white working class person, they fucking despise you. Nigel Farage despises the white working class. Yeah. He pretends to speak for the white working class to get votes by saying, it's the black and brown working class who are trying to take your money, your jobs, or they're a threat to society. But as soon as these people are on power, I mean, look at Donald Trump, for example. Has Donald Trump made the white working class better? In fact, ICE have killed 2 white Americans.
Yep.
And when it comes to economic policy, he's kicking off millions of people off healthcare. People's wages are getting worse. Grocery prices are going up. Do you see a pattern? It's almost like racist demagogues don't get into power and make the lives of the white working class better. They make the lives of the white working class worse, and they treat the white working class as they would treat, and as they do treat, the brown and black working class. It's to get your votes. The idea that, oh, if we just have people who are mean to minorities, I will be better. You are a fool, and it's been done time and time again. You'll never ever, you cannot show me an example where a fascist or a far-right political figure got into power and, you know, expanded healthcare to everyone, or increased wages, or made people's lives materially better. They always get worse. But people fall for it, hook, like, and sing every single time.
Sadly. But then the media plays such a large role in that.
Yep.
As I said, we got people like you guys, other channels too. And I thought the funny thing about the media on the left is everybody's supportive of each other. It's not like a competition with the mainstream media where it's everybody trying to get better sales pitches and better ratings and whatever else than everybody else. It's not like that. Everybody supports each other because collectively we can get a message out. And it does help, and it does resonate. And I like to think people, I know certainly people are getting their news from a wider variety of sources these days. People are better informed for that. But yet you still have this major amplification. You still have this belief that the likes of the BBC are the premier place to get your news from. And, you know.
It's all right. Apologies for taking over the comments. I did want to say this is through Twitter. I brought this comment up because I've seen a litany of these comments when we were tweeting about Hannah, and they're saying, oh, first of all, she's from Hale, it's a really posh area. You do realise that working class people exist in all areas, and Hale need plumbers. So first of all, the idea that she lives in a decent area, apparently, I've never been to Hale, that means she's not working class, is ridiculous. Okay, that means nothing. Secondly, people are now trying to attack her husband because he works for AstraZeneca, and they're like, he works for Big Pharma. Okay, majority of working class people work for big companies. Like, people work for Amazon. Does a person who works at Amazon, does that make them a shill for Jeff Bezos? No, they need a job. Like, you can't blame the workers for the people who own the companies. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, amount of times people who, I've seen it a lot where leftists will criticize this and that. And then some people are like, but you work for Nike. And it's like, yeah, but people need to work to live, right? We live in a capitalist system where if you don't have a job, you die because our welfare system's kaput, right? So people need to find a job, and people try and find a job anywhere they can. Working for AstraZeneca, I mean, look, if he's a CEO of AstraZeneca, you've got a point. But if he's a scientist or even a salesperson for them, it's not the same thing. It's just a lazy argument. And I don't think you can say much about being posh when, first, listen to Hannah's accent, she's certainly not posh, and you've got Matt fucking Goodwin, the guy who says the new elite is for the graduates and academics. He's a graduate and academic.
Yeah.
Could make it up.
And also, Curtis, this is such a shallow way of having conversations about class or understanding class. Like, if you're just calling people posh or denouncing the way that they grew up, then it's clear they don't understand. They don't have an understanding about how material conditions shape people. So simply calling people posh or not working class because they're in a certain area now doesn't mean shit. Like, I don't know, accents change, postcodes change, but the material conditions you're shaped by don't. So it's stupid.
The question I would put to that person is, how long are you going to wait for the perfect candidate to show up?
Yeah,
exactly.
You're always going to have people that you're going to stand for something you don't necessarily like. We used to be in Labour, or I used to be in Labour. Used to be, Corbynista, and all of that. We were in the same party as Margaret Hodge, same party as Rachel Reeves, same party as Keir Starmer. You know, there's plenty of problems there and then as well. But if you're going to this is a level you've got to go to of the potential candidate, or the potential next Green MP for Gorton and Denton is married to somebody who works for a big chemist firm. I mean, come on. Is that really what's going to matter when she gets her seat and starts doing the work as a constituency MP?
The chat's saying she's not even married, apparently. So
I have no idea then.
Yeah, I don't know, but of course, like, this person, I don't know what they're talking about anyway. But
well, they have a bloody picture of a little motorbike, so I don't trust them.
That's such a weird like red line.
So
You got a motorbike. I don't trust him.
It's my red line.
2 wheels are a wrong one.
Just two last comments. I know it's been an extra long show, but I think it's been a really worthwhile one. Vicky said when Damo's chair disappears and then starts re-emerging in the background, I keep thinking it's like a whale coming out of the sea. It's your chair, Damo, that makes me
asking shark season soon. It might be one of they.
We smell blood.
And then I think Curtis, did you do this one? Ollie said, "Make Ireland normal."
Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to end it. I thought we had to do that
This
one.
Ireland, because my God, it needs bloody making normal again.
Because we are on the normalist of islands, right? The normalist.
Oh, too funny. But I've really enjoyed this show. I think despite
it's been a brilliant one for a Friday as well.
Great. Yeah, I think come on, loosen up, guys. It's Friday. Of course, there's going to be mistakes. But yeah, really great show. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Sarah.
Amazing. Thank you for your comments. And I agree with Sarah. It's been a fantastic show. Of course, thank you to everyone who tuned in. Nice hour and a half show there we got. Of course, thank you, Damo, for coming on tonight. Your expertise once again, fantastic analysis.
Well, I don't know about that. I can just talk. But yeah, thank you. It's always a pleasure to come on here. I love you guys. I wish you all the very best. And I do look forward to the day where you are no longer stuck in that broom cupboard.
When we have that studio, and then you can come into the studio in person, right?
That's it. That's
but I tell you what, you put yourself there, and you've got nearly 200,000 followers. They love you, so you're doing something right there.
Well, you talk about that. I mean, it's just it's just one video at a time. Always got something to say. Always got something to complain about. So
don't we always suppose?
There's always a way. There's always another better way of presenting it than you get on the news. You don't have to be boring about it. You can have a bit of fun with it. You can wind people up. You can rib people. You can rip them to bits, especially if they deserve it. Got to have a bit of fun with it when there's so much.
You do.
So depressing. So
I know.
You got to find a light at the end of the tunnel for people. Have a bit of hope to make hope normal again.
Yes. I just realised that works well with the Make Hope Normal Again on Normal Island.
Yeah.
Very good. It's like maybe Zach, do you reckon Zach like thought about that slogan, went, I watch Normal Island. No, that's just us reaching now, I think. Now, remember to like this stream. And if you're not a subscriber, you got to hit that button. And also put on the notification bell, because YouTube is a bit rubbish. You subscribe and then it just doesn't tell you when I'm going live or if there's a new video. If you want us to help us grow, then you can head over to turnleftmedia.co.uk/support. There is a link to our Patreon where you can support us monthly or follow the other link to give us a one-time contribution. Alternatively, you can become a YouTube member for just 99p. Thank you so much to everyone. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you next week.